Hello and welcome to this podcasting guide, the Practical Podcasting Checklist. This is a guide to help you have a professional sounding podcast that is stress-free and enjoyable every single episode. Hi, I'm Matt and I am the founder of KULT Media. We offer podcast coaching and consultancy and audio production. And I've been working in audio professionally for over 15 years. I'm the former head of audio at Vice Media in the UK and at Rapid Pictures Post-Production in West London. And over that time, I have accrued over 550 hours of broadcast credits. I have produced thousands of hours of voiceover, podcast, radio, and delivered tens of thousands of branded assets to global brands. Since 2016, I have launched over 20 podcasts and produced well over 350 podcast episodes. And I am considered an expert in audio post-production, content creation, and brand and media strategy. KULT Media is built on a belief that everyone deserves an opportunity to be heard. But I also believe that when that opportunity comes, the importance of making a great first impression. So, let's see if I can help you do that today, shall we? As I have mentioned, this is our practical podcasting checklist. 15 steps that I use to make sure that all of my podcasts look and sound great and reduce those little mishaps right down. So let's get into it. Number 1, and this is the most common mistake in podcasting all around the world, and that is your recording space. Where are you going to record your podcast? This is far more important than the microphone you use, trust me. You need to think about if the environment is suitable for podcast recording. Can you replicate that environment every time? You don't want to be doing it in different rooms. Each session is going to sound completely different. So think about what is the optimal recording space for your podcast. And that takes us on to our second item on the checklist. What is the optimal recording space for your podcast? Well, I look for 3 key traits when it comes to finding the right space to record your podcast. First of all, it's quiet. Don't record out on the street or in cafes. Make sure your windows and doors are closed. Turn off that AC just for while you're recording. Turn off any noisy computers. Keep it as quiet as possible. Next, to support that, soft furnishings. You want that space full of soft furnishings. Sofas, armchairs, carpets are brilliant for soaking up sound. Close the curtains. You can hang up some blankets over doors or over closed frames if you've got them to reduce that echo right down. And the third thing I look for in an optimal recording space is comfort. Podcasts can go on for a long time, 45 minutes to an hour typically for an interview. If you're going to be sat there for that length of time, you need to be comfortable. So find somewhere that's comfy to record your podcast. Otherwise, you're going to fidget and make even more noise. Our third item is microphone input. You should know what input your microphone is using to connect to your recording device, laptop, or computer. Is it using an XLR cable, a 3-pin connection, or a USB going straight into your computer or laptop? Now, if you're using XLR, it goes into an audio interface or a recorder, that then might go into your computer. Just make sure you're aware of the chain for your microphone to get connected to record your podcast. XLR or USB. There are companies out there that create cables that do both. So just check, how does your mic connect? Next on the checklist is microphone placement. And this goes back to that environment that you're recording in. You need to make sure you're sitting comfortably. Then bring the microphone to you, not you to the microphone. That will lead to you being uncomfortable, moving, making a load of noise. So bring that microphone to you, sit comfortably. Next, you want to consider how your mic is going to be connected to your desk or stand, whatever you're doing. Make sure that you've got the right boom arm or a little sort of desktop stand and that it's close enough to your mouth. So bring the mic to you. The other thing to consider is things like shock mounts. This will reduce the vibration from the desk or whatever else is going on around you. If you knock it, the elastic takes out that vibration. So those are things to think about when it comes to microphone placement. Next thing to consider is your microphone technique. Now, microphone technique takes a while to learn and to understand how you sound on your mic. And you might change mics over time. You might also change your positioning in the room. That's why you need to be comfortable and bring the mic to you. But traditionally, you need the mic close, but a hand span away is about right. Next, you do not want to be speaking into a microphone head on. The air from your mouth will hit the capsule and cause plosives, and they will distort the microphone and sound horrible. So I like to imagine I've got a cartoon cigar. I'm a big wealthy tycoon, and it's off to one side, about 45 degrees. I speak forward into the camera still, but the microphone isn't getting that direct puff of air. And the final thing you can do to protect that is some foam shields. Easy done, cheap on Amazon. Again, 45 degrees off, reduces plosives. Or you can have something like this attached to your microphone with a pop shield. You can buy pop shields that bolt onto your boom arm or your desk stand. So yeah, microphone technique, close, 45 degrees, plosive protection. Next item on the checklist is the idea of phoning in to a session. So this could be using an app like Zoom or Riverside, Squadcast, Zencaster, they all do it, and the guest or yourself calling into the podcast. Now, things you need to be careful there are the connectivity. How are you connecting to that? Are you using that USB mic? You need to make sure your settings are right. And using those virtual apps, make sure it's easy for your guests to understand how to use those virtual apps. Next is if you are actually phoning in to an interview, I recommend using the phone like this. If it's a video call, then this won't work. But the phone is designed to work this way. If you hold the phone there, you're going to get the same problem we had with the microphone. Plosives. Also, holding a microphone there, there's a lot of room for that to move. If you are doing a sort of an extra backup, I recommend placing the phone on a pile of books or something near you to record the call that way. Again, not head on, as close as possible, but not head on. So that's phoning in. Our next item is headphones on. Headphones on all the time. Now, I've got some caveats with headphones. There are headphones that have microphones built in. You need to make sure that the app or whatever recording platform you're using doesn't default to use the microphone in the headphones. Also, try to avoid Bluetooth. There is always a delay on Bluetooth and it has data compression, so it won't be the best signal that you possibly could get. Next, the reason you wear headphones is to stop feedback loops. Now, as you're speaking to your guest, it might be that their microphone is going to pick up your voice coming out of their speakers. And what that will do is that will record that audio back and you create a feedback loop where you can hear yourself on the other person's side of the call. And finally, I find that headphones are great for keeping you at task, focused, and attention. There's too many things going on around you. Maybe you can hear something going on. Hopefully you don't because it's a quiet environment, but these things happen. Having headphones on keeps you nice and focused on the podcast. So yeah, headphones on, please. My next item is one I have to fix probably every other podcast I have ever edited. Notifications. Turn your notifications off. Get your guests to turn their notifications off. Make sure there's no updates, no emails, no Twitter. Make sure that all of those things are off. Put your phone in airplane mode. And the reason I say put your phone in airplane mode is because if you put your phone to silent and you've got it on the worktop or on the desk or wherever you are and it vibrates in silent mode, it's still going to make a noise. It's going to vibrate across that desktop. So airplane mode is recommended. Otherwise, just put do not disturb on all of those updates. Make sure your email apps are closed. Notifications off. And then the next item I look for on my checklist is scheduling. Scheduling is really important when it comes to content creation. Time management is really hard when you start out creating content. You don't realize how long things take. You don't give yourself enough time to set up, tear down, get everything packed away, make sure things are backed up. You also want to leave enough time to get a little bit of rapport with your guest or whoever's contributing with you. You can't just walk in and bang straight in. And this leads to concise podcasting as well, because you know what you want to say, how long you've got to say it, and you sort of sit in that space and get it done. And finally, you have those key points that you want to hit. So if you are interviewing and things derail slightly, you know that you want to come back to hit those key points because you've only got another 40 minutes to go and you've got a lot to get through. So make sure you're scheduling and time managing as best as possible. Now, our next item is even more important with people doing more and more remote work, and that is testing your connection. Now, I'll go back to the microphones first. This is the first connection you should test. Make sure that the microphone is plugged into whatever recording device you're using, your computer, your camera, your phone, whatever. Make sure that that works and you're happy that works, long before the podcast even starts. Then check the internet. Make sure that you can get on the internet. Make sure that your Wi-Fi is strong. You can check online to see if there's any issues in your area. Make sure you're getting the speeds that you've paid for. And finally, devices. Think about how many devices are on your network. If you're recording your podcast from home and your kids are playing Xbox and someone's listening to the Alexa in the kitchen, that's all going to bung up your internet. So just make sure minimal devices on the network, ideally hard connected using a LAN cable straight into the router. That will reduce the chance of any dropout in your podcast recording. Staying in the vein of technology, close down all of those apps. You don't need them all open, all right? Just that one app or one piece of software that you're recording into. Whether it's you're recording locally into a DAW, Audacity, Reaper, whatever you're using, or if you're using Zoom or Riverside, just make sure that that one app is open. Don't give your computer reasons to fail on you. Now, this could include shutting down multiple tabs if you're using an Explorer or a Chrome browser. Your VPN. Now, VPNs are great, but you might find they cause problems with remote recording. Antivirus software consistently gets in people's way. Shut down those emails as mentioned. And you might be thinking, well, how am I going to keep all my notes? I recommend all of your notes are just printed and laid out in front of you so you don't have to shuffle the papers. And this reduces the stress on your computer, thus reducing the stress on your podcast. Now, once we have tested our connection, we've shut down all those apps. As I've mentioned, do a short test record. Now, this is a great way to do a pre-interview with your guest if they have time. This will improve your interview when you come to do it. If you can have a little face-on-face with them, you can familiarize them with the process, familiarize yourself when you're starting out. It's complex, right? So yeah, do that little test record, get some people to help you, make sure it looks and sounds exactly as you want. If it's not right, don't go ahead. Don't produce quality that is below your standard. Now, at this point, I want to share with you a concept called a double ender. Now, this is also known as a tape sync in radio and podcasting. Now, this is the process by which we would record through our app, whether it be Zoom or Riverside, but both of us, both parties, would record our voices locally at our end, separately, not via the app. Now, the quickest and easiest way to do this, and I know a lot of journalists do this, is they get their contributor to set up their phone ready to go with voice memo, press voice memo, do the interview, stop, send that off. That's a great backup. It also might be a superior quality as well because it hasn't been compressed and gone down the internet. And superior quality with double enders can come with using a microphone, going through a device that you're recording or recording locally on your computer. Certain apps like Riverside record locally, and if someone drops off the call, it will keep recording, and when they join the call, it will keep adding that up. However, that's still using the internet. If you want it to be safe, record locally in the space with a microphone. It's the only way to guarantee that you'll get no dropout or technical issues. Next, let's talk about how good you look. You do. You look great. But let's talk about your lighting, your camera, and getting this podcast recorded, the action. Now, when it comes to lighting, you want light on your face. Make sure you've got even light on your face. If you're facing a window, that works. But when a cloud goes over the sun, you're going to get a slight change in light. Your camera's going to adjust. So if you can, control the light, maybe a ring light, LEDs, whatever you do, just make sure that the source is consistent and not changing, and that you don't have light, bright light behind you. It's just going to make you appear like a shadow. Next, if you are using a camera, make sure the camera is at your eye line. Nobody wants to see up your nose, and nobody wants to see the top of your forehead. Line that camera up with your eyes, sit comfortably, sit down, sit back, make sure you're not going to be too far away, and start from there. And then finally, the resolution of your camera. If you can, set it up to its absolute highest. It's great for the podcaster, it's great for you, it's great for repurposing when you've got high resolution images. Grainy Skype style videos just don't really cut it anymore. So if you can, high resolution, camera in line with eyes, loads of light on your face. And my final item on my practical podcasting checklist is check your mirrors. Now, have a look over your shoulder, have a look behind you. What is in the shot? What do you not want to be in the shot? We've seen those news clips of people with interesting items on bookshelves. You know, some people have been criticized for their bookshelves. So make sure that you know what is in the shot. Do you want it there? Do you need a backdrop? I recommend clean, tidy spaces. If you're going to use a bookshelf, that's awesome because that soaks up the sound. But yeah, nice and clear and tidy. Otherwise, I want to talk about the digital backdrops. Now, a lot of people can use these on Zoom. You can look like you're on the beach in the Bahamas. It's a stress for the computer to be producing that digital backdrop, which could cause problems. But also, I think they can look a bit naff. They glitch in and out. But I do understand if you need them on for privacy reasons, that's fine. But I would recommend not using those digital backdrops if possible. And that is it, my practical podcasting checklist. 15 steps that I go through on every podcast I produce. I hope it's been a real help for you. If you have any questions, please come and find me over at my website, which is KULT.media, KULT.media, or drop me a message on Instagram. I'm there a lot, and that's the same, KULT.media, KULT Media. Thanks for watching, and yeah, hopefully speak to you soon.